Welcome everybody to
That's my opinion!
That's My Opinion. My name is BaconBearzz and that's my opinion. Thank you guys for watching the first and second episode. We're doing pretty good. We're cooking with grease. I'm going to keep it short. Remember, you can find us on all the platforms. I'll list them down below, but Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Iheart Radio, Audible, and Amazon Music, anywhere that you want to get audio only. If you want to watch the video, that's on YouTube. Today we have a special guest, fan favorite, my friend Jen. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, I was like, why don't I hear you? Because my headphones are in the mic. I'm new. Oh, and you guys might notice the sound is a little different because remember when I told you that I wasn't going to purchase anything for this hobby? I lied. So
Correct.
So I went and bought 2 new microphones.
Right. And what did you tell me they will do?
Blow your dick off.
Correct.
I told you that
And it's
they
gone. It's
would
blown away.
just
Completely gone.
smithereens.
Yeah.
Smithereens of a wiener. Also, just a reminder, anytime that you guys interact with the podcast, liking or commenting or sharing, it helps the podcast. A couple housekeeping notes. Our podcast across all platforms has gotten more than 100 plays.
It's awesome.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
It's wowing me. It's blowing my dick off. So this is my friend Jen, and we've been friends since I was 21,
Wow.
22.
Yeah.
So probably at the time that I was the biggest monster.
I've seen all phases of bacon.
Thanks for sticking around.
Sure. It's been a wild ride.
Glad to be here, alive,
We made it.
with all limbs. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So we've known each other for like ever.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 kids, 17 and 15.
Which
And-
is wild because I think when I met you, your youngest was born,
Yeah.
but like
did you
toddler.
know you are the one that gave Nate his nickname?
Naderade.
Well, that and NATO Potato.
Oh,
Both of them.
Scoopski potatoes.
Yeah.
I have him, he's going to be babysitting. So I
Yes.
have what we're doing and then Naderade to the side. So if anybody comes over, they're going to be like, what is a Naderade? None of
worry
your
about it.
business.
But yeah, we've known each other for a really long time. I've been married for 22 years this year.
A really lame fact is you married your high school sweetheart.
Yeah,
Boo!
right. Thumbs down for finding your soulmate early. Yeah, I was thinking about it on the way here because I knew you were going to be like, introduce yourself. I knew Kevin was the one I was going to marry when I was probably like 10 years old. He didn't realize it till like a long time later. but I knew in like junior high that I was like, oh, this is the one. So, he didn't realize it till about 6 years later. But, I wore him down enough where I was like, yeah, well, now we're dating now. Like, this is what we're doing.
Huh.
Yeah, but we being so young and just knowing that this was the person, like he was my person, that we did things a lot earlier than most of our other friends have done as far as like getting married, having kids. So like somebody said to me,
How old were you when you started dating?
I was 14, 15.
It immediately popped into my head who I was with at 14.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Right. And that's
Most
the story
people,
for
I'm
most
sure.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm now 44 and have teenagers, whereas a lot of my friends didn't get married till later and have like 7 or 8 year olds, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, oh my god, you don't look old enough to have teenagers. And first of all, I'm like, thank you. And then, but it's like, yeah, we just got all of it out of the way early because we had been together forever.
Yeah. When did you get married?
2001.
So you were how old?
21.
Well, we all know what I was like at 21. So
I do.
So
I
that
do
wasn't
know.
happening.
I do know.
Also, yuck.
Yeah.
And then when did you have your first kid? How old?
26.
27 is when I started dating my husband. So,
Mhm.
all right. So now we're coming around.
Yeah.
To where I was a regular person.
Right?
I
A
could-
regular person.
I could join
But think about that,
society.
like all the stuff we were doing together,
Mhm.
like going out or being at like parties or things like that. Like I had already had kids at that point.
Well, and let me tell everybody too. So I had met Jen while I was working in a salon. I had started doing hair with inside of this group of neighbors. And then they were all like, come out with us. We do all these neighbor things. And I'm like, yeah. And I found this group of people who were really fun and really cool. But like they also had families and kids, which I didn't understand.
We moved into that neighborhood while it was still being developed. And as you do, like you meet your neighbors as you go in and you all have kids the same age. So you just start hanging out together and you form this like big group. And it's like awesome, you know, because you can rely on everybody. Everybody's around. It was great. And then as the kids get older and start forming different friendships or things like that, then it starts to fizzle a bit. I've learned as I've gotten older that it's more quality than quantity.
Yeah.
Everything, that whole like giant crew of people that used to do stuff all the time, it kind of just fizzled out.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own shit going on and it's fine. And that core 5 right around me are still tight and we text and we talk and things like that. But there's not, you know, these weekend ragers anymore.
Right.
And stuff like that. Like we all have teenagers and it's like, well, we have different concerns now. We have to worry about them going out to ragers.
Right.
And
I think too, though, it's like, it's weird because I didn't really realize until I think I got married and then started having kids that you go through these phases of your life that people just disappear. Like one day you guys are friends and then one day you're just like, you never talk again. And it's not like it's bad blood. It's just you're going through a completely different phase or set of experiences in your life, which was kind of hard for me to grapple with when I had children because you were our friends, you know, and then we had a baby and like there were a couple people who would be like around with the baby. And then there's one guy in particular who we hung out with him almost every day. He stood up in our wedding, just disappeared.
Yeah.
It's a wild thing. But I do have to say, like, once I had kids, I don't care.
Correct.
If you are not in my life, that's fine.
Yep.
I'm drowning over here with the people inside my house. Like, I don't need to worry about the people outside of my house.
Yes, you're right. People just fall off the face of the map. Like, having kids is a big dividing line.
Yeah.
Like, one, your time is now all focused on keeping this human alive. And they're just like, oh, I don't know where I'm going to go have dinner. Like,
yeah.
You guys want to go do something? No. Like, a human. I grew it inside of me and I have this thing that I can't kill. Like, I'm focused.
You know what's funny is having a dog is a big responsibility. But when people are like, my dogs are like my kids, it's like, you know what? I can't shove my kid in a crate and like go to my friend's house for 6 hours.
Right.
Like,
I mean, you can. You can.
DCFS has told me otherwise.
Frowned upon.
Twice.
Twice. Don't have to tell me a third time.
Don't
I got
have
it.
to tell me. I get the message. God.
I do have a couple callbacks to the previous episodes.
I love a guest that comes with their own housekeeping.
I was prepared.
Okay.
Episode 1, you mentioned you like to start projects and not finish them
All
because
of them.
I know that. I know this about you, but you said, I'm a Gemini. And I'm like, okay, I know nothing about, I know I'm a bitch and people say it's because I'm a Scorpio, but I think it's just because I'm a bitch. But, but I'm curious, like, I remember the tarot phase was hot and heavy, like around quarantine, like on TikTok, it was big and we were watching. And is astrology and that type of stuff something you've always been interested in, or is this something new?
So my mom was really interested in it.
Okay.
My mom, I had this best friend growing up whose mom used to do charts. And she would do not so much the zodiac sign part of it, but she would take your birth numbers, all the numbers, the time, the day, where, all these things that you were born. She would print it out on a chart. And you can do these now. I can do one for you. They're fun. But that will tell you, because of where your sun is, what house your moon is, all of these things, that will tell you exactly about yourself. And the idea is that the stars aligned a certain way when you were born, which is your makeup. So I think growing up with that, my mom had tarot cards. I actually got into witchcraft.
Slow, like just slow into that one. Don't just jump right into a witchcraft episode. Let's find a better segue for that one.
Listen, if we're doing it, we're doing it 1000%. But I used to go to like witchcraft stores and buy like witchcraft books.
Where do you find a witchcraft store?
They had
Was
them.
it in someone's basement?
I don't know, probably. No, they had a bunch of them. Downtown in the city, they got all those like weird, quirky stores or whatever. And I used to buy a bunch of books and like try to, but only white magic books,
Right.
Because
You know what happens.
I have limits. I don't mess with Ouija boards.
No.
I don't do black magic. I don't wish ill upon anybody. So I got into that when I was like really young. And then my mom came and confiscated all my books because I'd watched The Craft like 62 times. And I'm out in our yard and I'm like, Mennogs, take me.
So we're done with witchcraft, right? Are we done?
Well,
okay,
I guess tarot is like kind of witchcraft.
Yeah. But then like the astrology stuff, do you like see things that are listed for Gemini and you're like, boom, 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 I've got all these. This is me.
I'm like every
100%.
one of them.
Okay, so I know nothing about this. Like I said, I'm a Scorpio, but I'm on the end. So like 2 days later is the next sign.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that means like I'm a mixture or
could
how
be.
that works, but like
it more so depends on like so for example, like your all over sign would be Scorpio, but then like my rising sign is a Leo. So that's how I present to other people.
What is rising sign?
So your all over sign is what encompasses you as a whole. Your rising sign is how you project outwardly to other people. Your moon is like, which I have an Aries moon, which is super combative. That's how I treat myself.
Yes.
And then you have a zodiac in Venus, which is how you love, which I think mine is Taurus, which is craves stability, but also like can't give it.
So you're like half of the astrological signs?
You're all of them.
Oh.
But it's where they play. I mean, you're not all of them because you will have signs that don't show up in your chart, but it's about where they show up, how much they show up, things like that.
So I have a cousin who got hot and heavy into like the anagram numbers. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's like personality. It's called the anagram test, and it's like all these questions in it. There's 9 personality types, and you could be like a number with a side of another number, like similar. It reminds me of astrology.
I'm gonna have to take that.
It's pretty interesting. So we got like, we dove into it, and I think I now don't even remember what number I was, but it was very like bitchy. We'll just call back to the bitchiness. It says. Yeah,
it's like 7/9 bitch,
but it's like just strong personality, things like that, and intimidating was one of the characteristics. And I'm like, not intimidating. And Kev's cousin's like, have you met you? Like, yeah.
Coming off the bat, you could be very intimidating.
But I connotate like intimidating with negativity. And she's like, no. She goes, you're just like sure of what you're saying. You're confident.
People
she's
take
like, that can be
as
intimidating. And again, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm a giant bitch. Like,
well, you know what I've found too, especially, which is one of the topics that I want to talk to you about, is like being in the PTO group. I find that this stage of parents are very reserved, and I am not. So I feel like when I come in and I'm just myself, I have to be like, oh,
let's turn it down to a 5.
This is a different audience.
Oh, correct. A big lesson for me was reading the room. I learned that as I got older. Like it's a gift and a curse, my mouth. And I had to learn to just, not everybody thinks things are jokes.
Right.
And yeah.
Right.
So it was rough.
So my trauma, not funny?
Right?
No?
Yeah.
No?
Childhood trauma. You guys don't have any of that?
Oh,
you guys had like you guys didn't have shitty parents?
Take that one out of the stand-up, I guess.
Right? I have like a Maisel notebook where I keep all my ideas. For one day I will be a stand-up. I'll be like a 50-year-old stand-up.
We should do that. We should just do an open mic and bomb.
Right. But like growing up, I never knew that was an option. It was like you went to school, you went to college, and like you either were a teacher or went into business. Like I didn't know I could go into graphic design. I didn't know I could go into the city to Second City and take classes. And like it was just there's zero information because there's no internet. Like I didn't know any of that stuff. Had I known that, my dream job right now would be a writer on a show.
Yeah.
Like I watch.
Perhaps a writer on this show.
Correct. I'll just jokes. Just all the jokes.
This is where we're manifesting.
Yeah.
This is a part of the witchcraft, actually.
Is it? Oh, great. Great.
Light a candle.
Right. But I mean, like, we binge The Office constantly in our house. Like that's just one of our favorite shows. And
Yeah.
and the writing on there is so good. It's so stupid good. And then you look at the shows that came out after from those guys like Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it's just, I could have done that.
Yeah.
I know I could. I know I can still do it. However, I'm not the median age for that anymore. Like those guys are all, well, the creators are probably my age, but the staff they're hiring and things like that are like interns that they could pay absolute shit out of college. And
So sometimes I get these motivational TikToks because, I don't know, that's what the TikTok gods think that I need. And I watched this TikTok that's like all these people that didn't do anything until, you know, like Harrison Ford was a carpenter until he was
Yeah.
in his 30s.
Yeah.
Vera Wang didn't design her first dress until she was 40.
I didn't tell my first joke till I was 44.
See?
There you go.
Here we are.
Could do it.
We're starting. Something is happening.
Except I'm a complete introvert and I hate people. So I don't know how this job would work.
Like this.
I guess.
In a
yeah,
microphone
right?
in somebody's basement. The internet.
Amazing.
You're like, I'm living my
So like
dream.
in the 80s, these were like pedophiles. And now we're just here for entertainment. People on microphones in basements were the no-no zone.
Yeah.
And now it's mainstream.
Yeah.
I love it.
And now I'm like, hey, do you want to come to my basement at 7:30 in the morning? And you're like, why would I do anything else?
Right. Correct.
Except I have nothing to offer you like candy or kittens. So
I'm allergic to kittens. Let's not do that. I do have one other thing from episode 2 with Lydia. First of all, first show introduction, you're completely vulnerable. Love it.
Thank you.
Love it. It was great. And I know you. And so hearing your story, knowing you, I think it hits a little different than people that don't know you.
Yeah.
But I told you I listened to it and I watched it, and it was 2 different experiences for me. Because just seeing your facial expressions and how vulnerable you were, that's not a side of you.
Cutting out the crying.
But that's not a side of you I see all the time.
Yeah.
So that was nice for me. But then episode 2, you have a guest, Lydia. Super cute. Super nice. She mentioned that you couldn't be a detective.
I think I could.
Well, you can do anything you want if you
From
believe.
my basement with a microphone in my face.
I feel like you're already set up to be the perfect detective because you have the perfect partner, Elliot Stapler.
Where is he?
Where is he? Amber is holding a stapler up to the camera with the word Elliot perfectly vinyled on top of it.
If you get it, you get it. And if you don't,
stupid. Move on.
Stop watching.
Stop watching. Dun dun. So I think you could be a detective. Would you solve any cases? Probably not.
No.
Because you wouldn't finish them.
I would
You
cry.
would start them and not finish them. I also, too, couldn't walk in on crime scenes.
No, that would be horrific.
Right. You guys also touched on, like spiritual and hauntings and mediums and things like that. And you were like, I don't know if I'd seek out a medium. Yeah. It's super scary. My dad told me what he'd say. So if I do see a medium after he dies, that I would know it's him. That's
awesome.
Or weird.
I know my grandpa would be like, can you please stop talking?
Right. Can you just shut the fuck up? So my dad, growing up, typical 80s, 90s dad, worked, came home, slept. That's it.
Mustache?
Oh, big stash. Still has it. I mean, a killer stash. A lot of terry cloth tops and jorts. He had the mustache that wouldn't quit. And he's still alive.
Tom Selleck.
In high school, my brother and my husband and I were at our kitchen table playing Uno at midnight.
What's the age difference between you and your brother?
7 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's 7 years older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're at the table playing a game, and it's probably midnight, and my dad had fallen asleep in the living room. And as we're playing a game of Uno, he wakes up and comes out of the living room like he had just been through the war. I'm pretty sure he wasn't awake yet, but his hair was just up. He's got a cigarette half out of his mouth. Eyes aren't open. He just walks in the kitchen. He looks at us and he's like, what are you guys playing? Killer Uno?
Killer Uno?
And I just go, what is Killer Uno? And he's like, go fuck yourselves. And then he just walks away, walks outside. And Kevin's interaction with my dad to that point has been minimal. We're teenagers and we're not super dating yet. And he's just like, what the fuck just happened?
Oh, did Kevin come from a normal family?
I wouldn't say normal, but he came from a family. Functional and loving and yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comparatively speaking.
Right. We grew up 2 blocks apart and our worlds were incredibly different.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable the difference in dynamic. But it's insane that like the family dynamics were completely different. But like Kevin was like, what just happened? And my brother and I are dying. Like we are just dying. And we to that day we still tell that story. My dad's like, that never happened. We're like, oh, it totally happened. So he said, if I ever go to a medium after he dies, that he will say Killer Uno. And I'm like, all right, this is it. We're going to test I just gave it away. Now every medium in the world knows what to tell me. Cut this. Cut all of it.
I'm going to be like, I'm a medium now.
Yeah.
Give me $50.
Killer Uno.
Killer Uno.
But that's what he said he'll say.
That's kind of funny though. It's
so like tell your older loved ones a code word, if you will. Like you tell your kids if they try to get picked up by a stranger, like, give me the code word. Have you ever seen those?
Yes.
So like there's a great,
which I absolutely will do. Do you
and
do
we
that
did
with your kids?
We did. Well, they're older now, so we don't. Like I feel like kidnappers will give them back at this point because they
also they have texting.
Yeah.
So like your kid could be like, Mom, I don't want to be at this party. Please come pick me up, instead of being on the phone.
Right. We have all that. Like we, if they're in a situation that's uncomfortable and they need us, they know they can text or whatever. But like the whole, when they were younger, there weren't, they didn't have phones. And it was like, if somebody tries to bring you home from school and saying they're a friend, don't get in the car or ask. But if it's like one of my friends or someone they know, there was a code word.
Yeah.
So that worked out fine. But like, have you seen the videos now where it was like, what are you going to say if somebody tries to pick you up and say they're my friend? And they're like, my mom doesn't have any friends, you bitch. Get out of here. And then just run away. Yeah. Run away screaming.
My daughter will probably just slap somebody in the face and just like slowly walk away. Just like spit on them. Just fuck you.
Jiu-jitsu the fuck out of them.
I'm waiting for the day where the principal calls me and they're like, Mrs. So-and-so, Mrs. Bears.
Mrs. Bears.
Your daughter is armbarred somebody else. I'm like, I'll be there in a minute.
I'll be there in a minute. I was waiting outside because I knew this would happen. Let me in.
Yeah, I want to do the code word. I want my kids to, because there were times where I'm like, I wanted to go home from a slumber party.
Yeah.
But like,
right. It was lame if you called and said I wanted to go home.
It was lame.
Yeah. A lot of parents now with like teens have like, just text me an X and delete it. And then I'll text you back and say, hey, it's an emergency. I have to come get you. So like if their friends go, show me your phone.
Yeah.
Which
also genius.
Dicks. Right. Like get some better friends.
Or get a mom that has Snapchat.
Right. I have it. I don't know how to use it. But that's a difference in age between us, I think. Like you use it a lot.
Yeah.
And I love it because I get to see your kids and stuff like that. And the way you use it is genius. Like my daughter just takes a picture of her face and sends it to 50 people. And then they just keep getting streaks. And
yeah, I don't understand the whole streaks thing. I do have to say that if things like Snapchat or OnlyFans were available when I was in my 20s,
problems.
This would be a different experience.
You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here.
I might be dead.
Yeah. Hands down.
But I also might be rich off of showing people pictures of my butthole. So so there's that.
I can't.
We could be doing this in solid gold suits right now.
So stupid. Sorry.
Solid gold butthole suits.
You want coffee all over this area of things?
I just bought these microphones. So one of the things that I want to start doing is implementing comments from people. People have been leaving a lot of comments on the videos. A lot of them are, good. Keep up the work.
So like YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Got it.
Or I think you can, or whatever, if they leave them on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. But if anybody says anything pertaining to the show, I would like to then incorporate it into the show to give people a way to interact with us and then also start topics of conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
From what they're doing.
Give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want. So the highlight comment comes from Tina T, and this was on YouTube.
What's up, Tina T?
Tina T, who also texted me separately and said it was like 11 o'clock at night. And she was like, I just listened to the podcast and it's so good. Please stick with this one.
That's exactly, it's over now. Like,
right.
Somebody telling you to stick with something. You're like, that's it. This is the last episode, guys. It's been great.
It's been a fun
it's
ride.
Been reals. Peace.
I do have to tell you, so I get hyper-focused.
Really?
On what I'm doing, but I get so hyper focused that when I start doing something, I'll have continuing dreams about it.
Oh, wow.
Like if I'm like, I'm going to knit today, I have dreams about knitting blankets. Like it carries over,
Yeah.
which is probably why I don't sleep. This is the first thing that I've started that I have not had a dream about yet.
That might be a sign.
Might be.
That's good.
Stability. Slow.
Have you slept, though?
Not last night. I was really excited.
Honestly, I was super excited. It took a while for me to go to sleep because I had like stuff running through my head like, oh, we should talk about this. We should talk about this. And I was, yeah.
Yeah, it's different when you show up by yourself because I have a whole list of things that I've been kind of almost like diary keeping so that if I do run into a time that I do an episode by myself, you know, I have that. But yeah, I'm really excited to like interact with people and you don't know what's going to happen, you know? So Tina T says, the part about parenting a kid that was exactly like you as a kid, I felt that. It's so triggering working on healing myself on a daily basis so that I can be to my mini me what I didn't have parenting can be so damn hard. And the reason that I picked that comment was because for multiple reasons, but you're an amazing mother. And
compliments make me uncomfortable. So
I know, me
stop.
too. So we're gonna hug at the end of this, just so you know.
Nope.
But I've always before I knew I wanted kids, but even when I had kids, I'm like, I wish I could be like Jen. Like you're on the PTO and you're in your kids' lives and you're at their games and you're supporting all their dreams and doing all these things. And you and I have had little talks here and there about things that have happened in our pasts and then becoming.
I mean, you've met my mom, so you know.
She's great.
Okay.
From the outside looking in, wonderful.
Love you, Nana.
We love Nana.
She doesn't know how to listen to podcasts.
Perfect.
Great.
I don't need to edit any of this out. But yeah, it's like, when you become a parent, there are so many different things that happen and you don't expect them. So like you're trying to parent your kid and you're trying to do what is gentle parenting, especially compared to how you were parented. And then memories start getting unlocked of all these triggering things that have happened to you. And you're like, all right, well, now I get a chance to sort of parent myself, which is kind of messed up because you're like, imagine if somebody put a little effort into me.
True. Absolutely. So I agree wholeheartedly with her comment. It wasn't so much for me raising a mini me. Like I had already known, like,
are either of your kids like you? Or are they more like your husband?
They're a really good mix of both of us.
Okay.
I would say like temperament wise, they have Kevin's temperament. Like they
are very calm.
They're chill.
Yeah.
They're chill. I am not a chill person. I've been working on that for the past like 3 years in therapy on how to be less angry and more chill.
Okay.
And that did stem from like
Is
childhood
it working?
shit
Because
coming
I
up.
might need to see your therapist.
It's great. Do
you get a referral?
Right. I've sent so many people to her already. But it's they're a perfect mix of both of us. They have amazing senses of humor. I mean, you know them.
Yeah.
They're driven, but they're also teenagers and they sometimes make shitty decisions and they learn from them. But I mean, what you're saying is, what Tina was saying is how to not make the same mistakes your parents made or things like that. Like there's this article I was reading about why. So when I was raising my kids in the early 2000s, there was like...
Right, because your son was born in 2005?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was this term helicopter parenting that, you just hover. And...
That was me.
Right. And that was me. And I actually, this kind of ruined a relationship between myself and a friend that, we had 2 different parenting styles and one wasn't better than the other, but... they continually were like, you're ruining his life. You're a helicopter parent, blah, 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 talking shit.
Somebody said that to you?
Yeah. One of the reasons I was a insane helicopter parent with my son is he has a ton of food allergies.
Right.
So when he's young, like we never knew anything about food allergies, learned completely as he was 18 months old, what they were, what we needed to do. And then we moved on with it the best we could.
Yeah.
So he's peanuts, tree nuts.
Well, and to be fair, to explain to the audience, your son, it's not like he's allergic to peanuts. He is allergic to like 20 different things, and not even if he ingests them, like if they're in his direct area.
Yeah, like, you know, as you do as a first-time parent, like you're feeding your kid, you're doing things, and he had like terrible eczema and rashes, and we didn't figure out why until later, but he was allergic to peas and legumes and all sorts of seeds and all nuts and peanuts.
You're trying to feed him healthy.
Right. So like we're making him peas and we're making him green beans, and he's just sick. And then we finally, figured everything out. But I think that's why with him, myself having anxiety as it is was tripled now trying to keep him safe.
Yeah.
So that's why I got involved with the PTO. When he started kindergarten, I was like, how do I keep him safe here?
Yeah.
And my first thought was like, well, I'll join the parent group and maybe that'll give me some more visibility in the school.
Yeah.
So that's
and also some peace because you get an inside look at where he's at. It's interesting because you and I are on two different sides of parenting, but that's part of the same reason that I started the PTO.
Right.
I've also started because it's my way to give back because my school has such a great special ed program.
Yeah.
And like money is no object for them. And they do whatever they can for my son. So it's my way of trying to pay back for
Absolutely.
them. Aside from paying taxes and whatever, but yeah.
Yeah. So my initial reason was to get in just so I could get in the school and see what's going on and make sure that people knew him.
Right.
And then so as a new parent, I jumped right on their board. They had an opening. So, but these women were very like reserved. Their kids were, 5th grade. They had been through stuff like that. So I just kind of sat back and watched. That was my very hard lesson of read the room.
Yeah.
I'm
learning that right now.
There are different people in this world than me and my husband who think and act like fools.
Yeah.
So that was a new experience.
Which is funny because my son is kindergarten and that's where I'm starting.
Yeah.
And all these moms, their kids are 5th grade. And I know. But so it's funny because I'm sitting where you sat.
Yeah. And, and we had the discussion about just the different types of parents you'll see and people. And it was a eye-opening experience. But I later became very familiar with all the staff, like the principal. I was close with the principal at the time. And that allowed me some more FaceTime with, some of the staff that would be interacting with him.
Yeah.
Or I would see something and I wouldn't be afraid to like go to administration and be like, hey, I just noticed like my kid's in this class, but the teacher has almonds for lunch. Like, how do we fix this?
Yeah.
And I feel terrible for him at the time. He was the only one in his class of like 150 kids that had an allergy.
Yeah.
So at lunchtime, he sat by himself.
Well, and people don't understand either. They're like, oh my God, then just don't send him with a peanut butter sandwich.
I went through, there was a lot of like, back when they were born, like Facebook was the only social media.
Yeah. So, which actually was only like open to college students at a certain point in time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then it became a little more mainstream and that was the way we stayed connected with family and friends and it was the new thing. So, I would post like our struggles and things like that. And then because I think at the time, like all the profiles were public, like just trolls, like, then don't send them don't send them to school, homeschool. Yeah. I'm like, I am the fucking dumbest person on earth. I can't homeschool anybody.
Right.
But I wasn't, and you deal with that everywhere, just ignorance.
Yeah,
but
I dealt with that. I put a thing on TikTok about my son at a trampoline park. And there were multiple people who were like, not everybody can do everything. Yeah, sure. Okay. But why?
Right.
Why shouldn't they be allowed to exist in the world?
Correct.
Yeah.
And we could do a deep dive into this with everything that's going on today as far as, exclusion and, all this stuff. But it in the realm of things, my issues with him were insignificant to everything that's going on today, but it was our own little struggle that we had to deal with.
Yeah.
That's what we knew. So he's still allergic to everything, but he's almost 18 and he handles it well.
And you did what you were supposed to do as a parent. You educated him about his own life.
Yeah.
So that he can survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now he goes off to college in a year. Then, he's on his own. He'll have to make choices. But I knowing him and knowing his personality, like he'll be good.
He's gonna be fine.
He's gonna be fine. He will be your 45th president, or what would we say? He'll be president in 2042.
Right. And I will still be cutting his hair.
Right. Right. You get a room in the White House.
I do.
Right?
I get one room. Yeah, it's funny you touch on the anger because I have a lot of anger. I've always been very angry. Just it's in my soul to be. But I came from my family's pretty angry. My family is, and this is nothing against them. This is just the environment that we get into. They're very combative all of the time. And it's whether you're fighting or whether you're having a conversation, it's just in a very aggressive environment. And I don't live that way here.
Right.
So sometimes it creeps up or I snap or I'll yell at my, kids. And I find myself apologizing a lot because I'm like, that was not the right reaction. But then I'm like, what was so triggering about this particular thing?
It could be absolutely nothing. You're just angry.
Right.
And that's something I had to really come to terms with. Now, when you were talking about that in the first episode, I had texted you and I said that really hit home with me because we had kids young and Kevin was still going through like his MBA and stuff like that. So like I was home alone with a baby at night, like tired, exhausted. Nate was sick all the time with like RSV and other shit, which we later found out was like more allergy related. But I would like, if he, rocking him and he wouldn't sleep, I'd like kick the ottoman over. I was so mad. I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Right.
Stuff like that. Like I would just get so angry. And I realized 2018, 2019, they're 10 and whatever. I don't know. I get bad at the maths. I have no idea. But I just realized like my anger is affecting my parenting big time.
Big time.
Like to the point where it's time to go see somebody. Like, why am I so angry?
Right.
And it turns out it was a bunch of childhood shit that I needed to unpack and deal with. I did, but it took a long time. And now I feel like, not that I'm a better parent, but I'm more patient, tolerable.
Yeah.
But I mean, my family may disagree with me on that one, but you got to work on yourself.
Yeah. I find myself asking for just a little bit more patience every day. And there are some days that I go to bed and I'm like, good job. Like you did a good job today. And then there's some days that I go to bed and I'm like, fuck, man. Like just please let me live to tomorrow so I can fix this. Like,
am I going to wake up tomorrow?
Yeah. It's hard. Like for example, me and my daughter got into, a little bit of, and she does not care. She is like having an 18-year-old in this house. And we got into a little bit of a screaming match yesterday because which is funny. And the reason Jen's laughing is because she stands 3 inches tall. Yeah. She is incredibly tiny. I made chicken and potatoes. She ate all the potatoes. She decided she didn't want the chicken. And instead of just saying, and by the way, she's 3, right? She has no control over anything. Right. And instead of saying, I don't want the chicken, she threw her plate. And I'm like, we don't throw the plate. Like she flung it across the table and I'm like, we don't do that. And I try to have this build up, right? And so I'm like, we don't do that. Don't throw your plate. Don't throw your fork, whatever. She tells me, you stop talking. You don't talk to me. Leave me alone. And then because her language is still like she's from Eastern Europe somewhere. She's like, you are not mad at me because I mad at you. And then she like slaps her own leg and walks away. So I'm like, go to your room. I'm in the middle of eating my dinner. You're not going to ruin my dinner if you don't want to eat your own dinner. And she was like, no. So I just like picked her up and put her in her room. And then she won't stay in her room. And I'm like, what do I do here? Do I restrain her? She comes out in the living room and I just go to sit and eat. And she comes up to me and she's trying to be at the table but not eat. And I was like, listen, you have a choice here. Eat with us or don't eat. But if you don't eat, please do not interrupt our dinner. And, if you ignore the behavior, it kind of goes away.
Right.
But you have to, she has to know boundaries. But it was just so funny because in that moment, I'm like, had I come out of the room at that age, like I would have gotten my ass beat.
Absolutely.
You stayed in the room.
Yeah.
Or you got broken legs.
Yeah.
Like.
Right. Yeah. You got a belt.
Right.
Wooden spoon.
Right. The wooden spoon.
Nana used to throw eggs at us. So that's awesome.
That's my.
Now clean it up.
That's. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that when something has been broken and then it's your responsibility to clean it up.
Yeah.
That might be my second favorite story. Now, I think the first favorite story is the Windex.
Oh yeah.
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 There's
no love lost between my parents in their old age. And I don't quite remember the whole situation, but my dad said something like either inappropriate or something, and my mom just took a giant bottle of Windex and just started not like spraying him, but like a refill bottle of like Windex, and opened it and just started throwing it at him.
The level of petty.
Oh, yeah.
I live.
So petty.
It's my favorite. But yeah, it's hard. And then the other thing too is like when you're parenting, you'll be doing something and it's never a good memory, but all of a sudden you're like, memory unlocked. And you're like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
I didn't even know I had this in there.
Yeah.
And it's like just some shitty memory from your childhood that you thought.
I now, having really unpacked everything, now go, they did the best they could with what they knew.
Yes.
Because their parent, well, my mom had a terrible childhood and did amazing for what she went through.
Comparatively, yeah.
Comparatively. My dad just had, you know, a lot of youngest of a ton of siblings, and it's like, you know, the typical 50s, 60s childhood, there's like no parental involvement whatsoever.
Right.
You know, I had a house, I had clothes, I had food.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything else. No like support, no interest, no anything. So I knew when I had kids, like, oh, I'm fucking doing everything.
Right.
Like, I am going to all their games. I am
hugging them, telling them you love them.
Like, just, do you need anything? Right. Like, and to the point where I now mourn my own childhood because I didn't have any of that.
Right.
And one, it made me who I am today. So there is a you know, a bright side to that. But I just think, geez, what could I have been?
Right. I think a lot about how things could have been different.
Yeah. Like
I wouldn't have made it any different.
Right.
I mean, aside from the fact that, I don't know, where I could just like smash a vase and feel great about it.
Right. Right. Your intrusive thoughts maybe wouldn't be as violent.
So do you have them?
Yeah, but mine are more about like people dying than me harming someone. Yours are like throwing shit at people.
Mine is like, I'm cutting a tomato and it's like, also cut your own fingers off.
Right. No.
And I'm like, whoa.
Mine are more like, oh my God, if my kid goes outside and rides their bike without a helmet, they're going to get hit by a car and their brains are all over the place.
I have that as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Like you're in a crisis. I'm great because I've replayed every scenario in my head.
Yeah.
From the beginning of time.
So my husband took my son to a monster truck rally.
Yeah.
And, you know, for those of you who are new listeners, my son is autistic and he's nonverbal. And my husband is a very capable parent. Yeah. Obviously. I bred with him.
Mated.
I begged him all night and then all day before he took him. Do not let him go. Do not let him out of your... Because if he wanders, that's it. He's toast.
Right.
And
can't tell anybody.
I saw was just him disappearing.
Yeah.
It sucks. And that's the thing. I think that's like my least favorite thing about parenting is you love something so much that you're convinced it'll be taken away from you at any point in time. And then you just worry about it.
It's nonstop worry fest. Nonstop.
Like, my kids have never slept and they'll sleep. Like my daughter the other day, she wasn't in our bed in the middle of the night. And I'm like, I have to prepare myself to walk into the room because I'm like, she's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm used to my daughter sleeping in because she's a teenage girl and she does, but Nate's always been an early riser.
Yeah.
So like one day it was like 9 on a weekend. He wasn't up yet. And I'm like, Kevin, he's dead.
Yeah.
Like you need to go in there. And like they lock their doors, which I fucking hate.
But great in a fire.
Right. I mean, we sleep with doors closed, great for fire, but they fucking lock their doors, which drives me nuts. But we have those little like key things. I'm like, you gotta fucking get in there. Like he has a doorbell.
That's amazing.
So like we're ringing the doorbell, nothing. And I'm like, get the fuck in there. So AirPods were in, he was watching something on his phone, but couldn't hear anything. Like, damn you noise canceling headphones.
Yeah,
like
right?
I was like, dude, I thought you were dead. He's like, what is wrong with you? Like,
you'll understand when you have children.
Welcome to my brain.
Well, you might not, because I feel like men are very different.
Oh, Kevin is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Zero.
So is my husband.
Zero anxiety. Yeah. They're both very chill. They both have similar temperaments.
Yeah.
I would say both of them.
So it's good though, because he cancels me out because I'm so don't let my kids do anything. And he's like, also you have to let them live.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but only a little bit.
Right.
Like
only a little bit.
So we live right by the school.
Yeah.
You can see it from my backyard. And one of my friends was like, how old do you think your kids will be when you allow them to walk to school. And I was like, when they teach there.
Yeah. Was your answer never?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they are teachers at that school is when they can walk there.
Yep.
Let's talk about the PTO, because I feel like knowing you, that is also something that I would never expect from you. But you are like not just PT, you were like the lead of the PTO.
Yeah, I led that shit for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
and that's hard work.
It was a lot of work. It was like having a part-time job. Like the school they went to for the first, few years was amazing. And it was all about like, how do we make it easier for these teachers? What can we do?
Right.
Yeah, but so not me at all. Like it was leading meetings and doing things like that. Not me. Like it was very uncomfortable. But I made some good friends and we did a lot of good stuff for the school. It allowed me to be in the school more.
Yeah.
To, be around my kids. So that was the main driving force, was just to be around them more and see them, during the day and help out. But both of us are, I would agree, non-PTO types.
No.
And
at all.
I think your recent experiences indicative of what mine were, where you just feel kind of a little bit like an outsider.
Yeah,
and you're
it just
like,
feels like you're walking into a group of people who have been friends.
Right.
And then you sit down and everybody's kind of like,
who's this person?
Right. And it doesn't, it's hard because it's like, I was so excited to get there. And, this isn't anything against, like, God forbid a PTO mom hears this podcast, but I'm just saying, like, it's not anything against them. It is just, it's an environment that I'm not used to. I do not do well in all women environments already. I went through a good portion of my life where I only hung out with guys. They were the only person that people I knew how to communicate with. Mm-hmm. And then as you get older, I've realized how important, whatever you identify as, but how important same-sex relationships are, because I cannot connect with my guy friends the same way that I can connect with my women friends. And that group of support is so valuable. But I find in groups of women, because I still have a male sense of humor, and if we admit it to its core, I'm trash, like compared to a lot of these other
trash.
people. Right.
I'm garbage.
Yeah. It's like, so I walk in there and I'm like, and I know who I am, but it is very much know your audience.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times where something will be here.
And you're like, don't do it.
And then it'll come all the way down, all these little filters to my tongue. Mm-hmm. And you'll see me physically open my mouth and then close my mouth again. I'm always like, oh.
I have realized I start fidgeting when that happens.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't realize it till recently that, like, when I'm trying to, don't do it.
Right.
Stop.
Well, and there's a lot of times it's like, this is funny. Right. Not to any of these people sitting in this room.
And then that comes to like my notebook.
Right.
I just start writing things down that I observe.
That's what I should do. I should
like I have a whole
notebook.
bit on suburban moms and the each type, and I can't wait to unleash it.
It is funny because I do talk to people, and then so we were in a situation where we were at a PTO group, and I had told a joke. I don't know, something, as a kid, whatever, as you do. And one of the moms goes, "Oh, that's sad." And I was like, "Oh God." like, and it's just, you're just sitting there with a margarita in front of you and you're like, "I'll have 3 more of these. Thank you."
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing about doing that? What was your least favorite thing about being on the PTO? Obviously the favorite thing would be like being in the school with your kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. Like it was just getting to know the staff. Like some of the staff at that school, like I still talk to. Like it just, a lot of the teachers there had kids in the school themselves. So
yeah, okay.
That was fun. The worst part is trying to do something with a group of women.
Yeah.
Same as you. My friends growing up, were my husband and our 2 other friends who we still talk to that were male. My best friends were males.
Yeah.
So again, like that was the difficult part. There was a lot of like cattiness and arguing.
See, I don't see any cattiness yet. I do have to say, knowing this about myself, I do find if you are a person that I interact with and you are reserved or maybe an introvert, I take that as a personal attack.
Game on.
And I'm like, oh, so you don't like me?
Yeah.
Oh, and they're like, no, they're just kind of shy.
Right.
And you're an idiot.
Yeah. I think it was, the board in particular, like not just being a regular PTO helper at events and things like that. Like when you're running stuff and you're on the board, you have a lot of strong personalities and people clash. Like you don't have to like everybody.
Right.
But we got to a point where 2 in the group like all out fight, not like physical, but screaming. And then another member left was like, I can't continue with this. The direction it's going, it's too much. And I think that finally like soured everything.
Yeah.
And then we wound up leaving and switching to a different school at that point. But I feel like if I would have stayed and continued, like we wouldn't have been effective. Yeah. It just was crumbling. And I know it sounds like this big, massive like enterprise.
But it is a big deal.
But like we're raising funds in upwards of $50,000 to $70,000 at a time for things for the school. So like it was a lot to do, but it just for sure.
I haven't had any of that yet. We've only had a couple of meetings, and then I did this thing that's like a carnival, and then and there was that. I think the thing that shocks me the most about the PTO is like I used to talk shit. I'm like, oh, these PTO moms, and then
you were also like, I'm never having kids.
Yeah. Also that. Yeah. But and then I go to do PTO stuff, and I'm like, they work hard, and a lot of them have full-time jobs. Yeah. And then come and do this and like you don't realize what. And so one of the girls that's in my neighborhood group, so there's 3 of us, our kids are the same age. We do the PTO together. And 2 of them are teachers. And one of them, helps like, I think is also on the PTO at the school that she teaches at. So having her as a friend is very valuable because I'm like, what's the point of this? And she's like, you get to see where your money is going. And I'm like, okay. So then you see the activities and what they do for the kids and all this stuff. And it makes you more passionate about the school and like what they're doing. Right. The next thing I would like to get to is you and I are raising children at completely different times. Yeah. Which is wild to me. And I'd like to pick your brain because I feel like in our lifetime, we've seen tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And, so you had your first child in 2005. I had my first child in 2016. As a mother, like now, looking at if you were to be raising kids now, like how would that differ from raising kids 18 years ago?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't envy you at all.
I don't envy me either. I mean, I actually regret my decisions to have children right now and not prepare for homeschool.
So we were right on the precipice of big tech in 2005. So like the iPad didn't come out until 2010. iPhone was 06, I think. So like the only tech we had when he was born was like an iPod or a Nano. Yeah. So I think technology is incredibly different now. Yeah. That would have been a huge challenge for me had that been available so early on. I don't know if it would have helped or hindered, but I see the challenges like people have about like tablet time or, stuff like that. But I see also like the innovations for parents as far as like, the baby gear and stuff like that would be helpful back then. Yeah. Like we were walking through the airport we just went on vacation and somebody had their kid on like a seat that was attached to the suitcase and rolling them around. I'm like, you remember Genius. Like fucking carrying these like 2 around, like grabbing them and trying to wrangle them? Like this kid's strapped on the carry-on and just rolling around. Yeah. Like
you just put them under the plane and you go.
But just stupid shit like that. Yeah. But I think, so my kids didn't get phones until junior high. They didn't have access to social media until 8th grade, freshman year. So it's scary though. Yeah. I don't know what I would change because it's hard because I don't know the day-to-day what you're going through. It absolutely is terrifying because the school shootings that continually happen. Yeah. Which we just had another one in Nashville this week. Yep. But like lockdown drills are their norm. They don't know any different.
Yeah, I struggle with that one. Number one, it's so funny because I was going to read the email that I got from the school that is because of Nashville, this is what we're doing.
Mhm.
This is how we can make you feel better.
Yeah.
I watched a woman on TikTok who got her young son, the same age as my son, a bulletproof backpack.
Yeah.
And she was running this drill with him in his bedroom. What do you do when this happens?
Yeah.
And the thing that really hit home for me was I don't have that opportunity
Mhm.
because my son doesn't understand.
Right.
I remember when I got the text from his teacher that was like, we had a lockdown drill today and he did so good. And I was like, it didn't even, he's 6.
Yeah.
And he's hiding from active shooters.
Yeah. And in the time from when my kids were in kindergarten to now, the training has changed as far as what they do when intruders come in. So when my kids were kindergarten, first, second grade, it was basically like, be quiet and hide under your desk. Now it's like this Alice training where you barricade the door, you start throwing things. Like it's much more intense.
Yeah, it's like a war zone.
And they're old enough now where I'm sure it affects them, but it's not like they're 5, 6, 7 years old and trying to justify like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, they get it,
They
but
just do it.
it's so sad that like this is their normal. My son had a lockdown last year and was texting like, hey, we've been in a lockdown for like a half hour. We don't know what's going on. Love you. And I'm like, holy shit. Like what? And his school's about 20, 25 minutes away from our house. So I was talking with another parent. She's like, let's just go. Let's just get over there. And then in the time we were traveling over there, it was like a tripped alarm and there were cops everywhere. And I was just like sobbing.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Well, and what do you do?
Right. I can't imagine what these families are going through.
No.
At all. But like, it is insane. Like our school doors were open growing up. Nobody ever came in and was like, hey guys, let's party.
Yeah.
Like it was.
You could just go back and like tour the school if you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah. I talk about this a lot with my neighbor because we live so close to the school.
Mhm.
And she's like, I often think about what I would do. And I'm like, unfortunately, we wait until they bring our children to us or they don't. Like there's no.
You're not going to get anywhere near the school.
No.
Yeah.
And nor would you, there's a lot of people who are like, well, I'll just take my gun and go to the school and cause further chaos. Like, there's a lot of people who have all these answers, if I was in this situation, which, that sounds great. Everybody would like to
Hindsight's
be
2020.
John Wick at an elementary school. But like, it's interesting because you send your kid to school and you're like, I guess you don't think about it on the day to day. And then when something like this happens, you're like, there's a possibility that I'm going to send my kid to school to learn and they're not going to come home.
Yeah. So, and my daughter's high school is so big that they're allowed to carry backpacks because they can't get to their lockers in passing periods because there's 2,500 kids in the school and the school is ginormous.
Right.
So that right off, I'm like, oh, great. Like, that's terrible.
Right.
Yeah. That really frightens me. But
well, and I think about it. So you had, let's see. So 99 was Columbine.
Yep.
2007 was Virginia Tech. 2014 was Sandy Hook.
Mm-hmm.
And then so on and so forth. So you had your son in 2005, and that's when all of this started.
Yeah.
Really ramping up.
Sandy Hook was I mean, I was in college when Columbine happened. I'm aware of all the other shootings, but like Sandy Hook was the big one that really like punched all of us in the gut because we had children that age.
They're babies.
Our school at the time, our kids made, cards and all that to send there and things like it was really like that's when it was like real.
Yeah.
And not that the other ones weren't, but like to me as a parent, I was like, oh my God, like this is insane.
Yeah. Well, and which I don't want to get too far into politics. If you go on my show, if you go onto my TikTok, you already know how I feel. But did you even watch the representative for Nashville, his interviews when he's like, Congress isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, we're not going to fix it.
Yeah, that's fine.
His Christmas card was them holding like AKs.
Right. So we're paying you all this money, which why these people are the highest paid people in our community is disgusting. But that's another topic for another time. But the interesting thing was one of the reporters had said, okay, you're not going to fix it. What happens when this comes to your daughter's school? Because you have a daughter this age.
Yeah.
And his response, I homeschool her.
And there's no response.
Right.
Like there's no, it's just
Right.
like, yeah.
They don't, ugh. Yeah.
I could go on for hours about this. Like it is.
Second show?
Yeah.
Second
for
show?
sure.
You guys
I'm
want
in.
a second show for
maddening.
depression only?
Mhm.
I think that's the hardest part of parenting right now is, well, I mean, not for me because my kids are so little. But yeah, school shootings, but also social media, like
Yeah.
how to try to protect them from the internet. My
Mhm.
son does get a lot of tablet time, but he connects with video
Yeah.
and songs,
and also
and
like all his like matching stuff and his things
yeah,
are
he
on
does
there.
a lot through tablet time.
Yeah.
And the doctor that diagnosed him, when we had asked him, we're like, how much is too much tablet time? And he's like, we don't know enough about it. He said, you will find arguments on both sides.
Right.
He's like, if your son is playing with it and getting information from it, that's fine. He goes, it's a problem when your son doesn't want to do anything else. If he doesn't want to go outside, or he can't eat dinner, or do any of these things without his.
And the fool just went out and rode a bike.
Right.
So he clearly wants to do stuff.
Yeah. He would prefer to be outside much more than being inside on his tablet and getting dirty and, whatever. But, and that's hard. And then, you give your kid too much tablet time, and then you have people who are like, I don't give my kid any time. And I'm like, I'm just trying to live over here.
Right.
It's like people who are like, I don't own a TV. Nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares. Like, great.
Yeah.
I was raised on Carol Burnett and the Benny Hill Show. I'm doing just fine.
Did you grow up in the 50s?
My grandma was like 82.
Time traveler. I know.
Yeah, we watched a lot of Murder, She Wrote, and Carol Burnett, one of my favorites, Mama's Family.
Yeah.
I loved that show.
Yeah.
I Love Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
Was not a fan of Perry Mason. Loved Matlock, though.
But like same show. Right?
But Matlock, Andy Griffith.
But Matlock.
What is some advice that you would give to either your younger self as a parent, or someone who's a new parent now, being a seasoned mother?
So not seasoned. I mean, there's so much more to go.
Seasoned like mayonnaise.
Like mayonnaise.
The white people seasoning.
Oh, got it.
Did you ever see that TikTok? They're like, show us how you store your sauces, your hot sauces. And do you know the woman on TikTok that looks like Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Yeah. So she goes, oh, here's my hot sauce. And she goes, I put it in the fridge. And she pulls it out and it's a jar of mayonnaise.
She is pretty great. I mean, to my younger self, I would go back and just be like, explain the anger issues, and that like that'll pass. But like today, it's just, I don't know. Like I didn't have TikTok and influencers and all these people and like mommy blogs and all this. Like I feel like myself comparing myself to others would have been like this just rabbit hole of misery.
It's so funny that you say that. I actually wrote this down for an individual episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's a girlfriend of mine who's in her 50s. Her kids are in their 20s. And I was like, having my typical Wednesday morning breakdown. And we were just talking, and she goes, I don't know how you guys live in this time of parenting. And of course, my brain goes to, all the devastating things that could happen. And she was like, I don't know how you guys live in a time where it's so easy to access mommy bloggers, and how damaging that can be, because you get these 30-second clips of these beautiful homes and these play areas, and they're cooking these dinners, and you forget they're making content. Their houses probably don't look like that. They might, but mine doesn't.
Right.
And you do that. You're like, I don't have this neutral aesthetic, and I don't have these clean areas, and my kids aren't wearing the best clothes. And
yeah, I really don't know how you do that. Like I'm thankful I didn't have that. I did the best I could with the information and tech we had. Of course, we had like Google and stuff. I could look things up and, ask questions and ask Jeeves. We had that.
Oh my God.
Jeeves. But
unlocked.
The constant comparison to others in what you're doing and feeling not good enough because of the things you're seeing.
Right.
And not being able to discern the difference, whereas you and I can discern the difference.
Not always.
Well,
not always.
sure.
I do try to see those videos, and I know I'm trying to take ideas. Okay, this space looks organized. What can I do to also make my space look organized?
Yeah.
But there are times where you start to suck in so much content and you're like, my house is always dirty. And,
Sure.
whatever the
Right.
case is.
Yeah. I mean, I tell myself I'm a giant piece of shit twice a day, if not more. Like,
Right.
I get it. And, but the feeling of you're not good enough or constantly comparing yourself to the images you see online, like I can't even imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my advice to you would be like, you're fucking killing it. Like, keep doing what you're doing. You're a fantastic mom.
Thank
and
you. Oh my God, we're being nice to each other.
But the way God, your like thirst for knowledge and having to learn everything about something like is inspiring.
That's
like,
also a Gemini quality.
Is it really?
It is.
Okay. Because like, I mean, just with your son, like it was like, okay, we have this now. We have this diagnosis. I'm going to find out every fucking thing I can about this. And you did.
Yeah.
Like, and and it'll ebb and flow and things will change, but your constant just need to consume information is unbelievable to me. And
Thank
how you
you
keep it all stored.
It goes away. For example, the dumb stuff tends to stay.
Well, we did say you and I have a penchant for useless information just being stored.
Wildly useless.
Insanely useless.
Did I tell you, side note, my husband started playing something on Alexa on a Saturday morning because he had heard a song in a show somewhere. And I go, are you a big fan of the Thompson twins? And he puts his head out and he goes, how do you even know this song? And I go, it's that song. And it goes, I have a picture set on my wall, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
me now.
And in your loving arms. I said the reason that I know that is because I also have the entire soundtrack of the Wedding Singer cataloged in here, and I would listen to it 8 times a day.
I have the Kevin will tell you, like, it's insane. I have this weird thing where if a 90s song pops up, I can tell you the year.
I can't tell you the year. I know all the lyrics.
Yeah. But I know where I was when that song came out.
Yeah.
And so I can picture it and I can tell you the year. I may be off by 1 sometimes, but I'm 90% accuracy.
Yeah, I can't tell you though. I never count change in a grocery store because I'm too embarrassed because I would have to count the change and then use my fingers. And I don't want to hold up the line. So I just trust who's giving me the money that it's correct.
You count your change when you get it back?
No. I just shove it in my wallet.
No, but are there people that count their change when they get it back? I don't. Are you talking coins or just all of it?
Anything. So, you can
I don't. But I rarely use cash anymore.
Yeah.
But
no, I use cash all the time, and they're always like, "Here's $9.82." I'm like, I trust you. Bye.
I always shove it in my wallet. Who counts their change when they get it back?
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you what the change was.
Listeners, if you count your change at the register when they hand it back to you, they're like, "Here's $5.75." If you count that, well, that's easy. That's a $5.75.
Right.
But like you give me $13.73.
No.
I'd like to know how many people out there actually count their change.
You know what I just learned? Because I can't do simple math. That if you put 2 odds together, if you put 2 evens together, you get an even. If you put 2 odds together, you get an odd. If you put an even with an odd, you always get an odd.
Nice.
Changed my whole life.
Really?
I'm 37 years old.
I mean, I don't know how that would benefit me in a daily situation, but...
Well, because I can't do 6 plus 7. I have to do 6 plus 6, then add 1. But now that I know it's an odd, 13, bitches.
I sat in my car and tried to do 7 times 6 the other day, and it took me a hot minute.
We're not talking about multiplication. No. What are you, sick? Division? My head just starts steaming and explodes.
My son has surpassed me in knowledge.
So
to
has
the point
mine.
Where I can't... Mine's almost 18. Yours is 5.
Dude, so let me tell you.
He is a smart kid.
So my son has started taking, you remember? Okay, so Jen will get this joke, obviously, because it involves her. I let her babysit my son one time when he was an infant, and she sent me a video of him with a pair of sunglasses and 2 phones, And I got 2 phones, one for the bitches, one for the hoes, which is really funny. And I think I still have it somewhere. And if we still have it, I'll put it on my social media. But it's funny because 6 years later, he now has to have 2 tablets because we have a tablet for each of the kids.
So one for bitches and one for hoes.
One for bitches and one for hoes. And he will go on to kids' YouTube, find the same video, like on both. And then he syncs them up, watches the numbers, syncs them up so that they both play a sound at the same time without an echo.
Wow.
It's like, what are you doing? And I've been getting him into music lately because he can match tone.
Nice.
But it's funny because he can't listen if his eyes are open. So I'll hold him and I'll sing to him, and he puts his ear up to my mouth, but he has to squint his eyes so he can like.
Is that like me turning the volume down in the car to find a parking spot?
Yeah. Or if
it's
you're
the
like
same.
looking for house numbers, you're
Yeah.
like, hold on, I gotta look for this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Every time.
Every time. What is your favorite thing about parenting?
My kids are close enough in age now, or they've always been the same amount of age in between. One doesn't age faster than the other. I don't know if I've told you that. So my favorite thing about parenting now is because my kids are so close in age, they actually like each other and they're like best friends.
Oh,
Like they tell each other stuff that they don't tell us.
good.
And like our last recent vacation, we were on a cruise. So like they just took off together and did
Yeah.
stuff like that. Their relationship to me is my favorite part of parenting right now. Just watching them.
Yeah.
It's awesome. We were actually discussing how when Nate leaves for college, like how hard it's going to be for both of them.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to fucking, just lie
over
down
every
in
day
traffic
To my house.
yeah,
And do crafts.
probably
Rage craft.
and cry because my kid's
It's fine.
gone. But it's going to be really hard for both of them.
Yeah.
I think. But that's watching them be each other's best friend right now. That's awesome.
Yeah. I would say my favorite part of parenting, my kids are little.
Mhm.
So you still get those snuggle moments
Oh,
where
yeah.
like both of my
Oh.
kids will snuggle me and I'm like, I could die in this
Would
moment.
Fucking die for a snuggle moment right now.
Go upstairs. My
I
son will
will.
give you one. My son snuggles everybody.
My kids will not even hug us anymore. Like the other day, I said to Ray, I go, "Hey, can I get a hug?" She's like, "Ew," and I'm like, "Can I just get like a shoulder bump, like something?" She's just like,
My daughter, I'll go to kiss her and she'll be like, no, you don't kiss me. And I'm like, I'm the only one that doesn't respect your boundaries. But I do have to say, like, my favorite part is seeing them in the wild, being individuals, kind of like making their own decisions,
Yeah.
setting their boundaries. Like
Yeah.
my daughter will tell other children, like, no, you don't touch me or you don't push me or whatever. And like
yeah,
saying these things or like sharing. Like she asked me for a snack the other day and she's like, can my friend have a snack too? And I'm like, yeah. Like seeing them develop into these little people,
yeah,
I think is really neat.
it is. It's amazing
Outside
to watch.
of you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's your least favorite part of parenting besides all of it? All of it is not an answer.
The worrying, the constant worrying.
Yeah.
It started from when they were taken out of me and will never stop.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. That's gotta be hard. Do you find it different having a boy and a girl? Do you worry about one more than the other?
Yeah, I worry about her way more.
Is it because she's a female or
Yeah.
is it because she's who she is as a person?
No, because she's a female.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we constantly have to have the conversation like you need to be aware of your surroundings
Yeah.
and stay off your phone while you're walking and
No
because
headphones.
XYZ can happen. And
Yeah.
this is sorry, you're gonna have to work harder than everybody else your entire life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
her more. It's a whole different way of raising them.
Yeah.
It's
Did you
it's
parent
tough.
them the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we were always really open with them and honest and truthful. They had questions. We didn't really hold back. Like I remember they're gonna kill me for telling this. One of them came home. I won't
Because they're at home listening to an
Right,
old lady
yeah.
podcast.
right. But I
Having
will
their morning coffee.
but like one of them came home and said, somebody said 69 and left. What does that mean? And I was like, we had already had the sex talk by then with both of them. So I just got out a napkin and drew it out. People. And they're like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, you guys asked. That's what it is. Now it's not so funny, is it? It's disgusting.
Haha.
It's gross. You guys asked for it. So like we're always pretty honest with them and open, and if they have questions, we answer it as truthfully as we can without becoming complete morons. But I often get the question, why are you so weird? Like Nate says it constantly. Why are you so weird? Like after I do something.
You'll be there. You'll be there. You'll be in your 30s and your 40s and you'll do weird stuff.
Yeah.
Trust me. Stuff you didn't expect. I would say the same thing. My worst, the thing I hate the most about parenting is the worrying. And also the fact that I just constantly feel like a piece of shit.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I apologize. And that's the thing is like, I'm learning how to talk to my daughter. And my son, I have more patience for my son because I have a different understanding of the things that he's going through. But like my daughter and my son too, I apologize to both of them. Like, this was not the right reaction. Just because I'm mad at you doesn't mean that I don't love you. Whatever. I have all these conversations with them, but I do lay my head down a lot at night and I'm like, what a fucking piece of shit you are. And speaking of your children saying things that they don't understand. So my daughter is very small and she's very small for her clothes. So it's like she's a 2T in the waist, but like a 3T length. So you have to buy her 3T pants, right?
Yeah.
Well, she wears a pull-up because you can't find underwear that fit her. So she's got to wear a pull-up.
Mm-hmm.
And if she doesn't wear a pull-up, her pants don't stay on. So she's got to have all these things. Anyways, we have a swing in our house and she's spinning so fast in a circle and she's not wearing a pull-up that she spins her pants right off.
I mean, the spins are impressive. I've seen them.
And she goes, oh no, you can see my butthole. And I start dying.
But that's totally you. You say butthole all the time.
And I go, Ray, don't say butthole. And she goes, why? And I go, because we don't say butthole because it's a very aggressive word. I tell her she can say booty butt, but you don't say butthole. And she goes, and because she has this Eastern European accent, she goes, why not so funny butthole? And I'm like, so I can't wait for like the sex talks when she's like, because I know it's going to be her. What is this?
Yeah.
Explain this to me.
Ray, almost threw up when we got through the whole thing. Like she was just disgusted by all of it.
Good.
Yeah.
Forever.
But it was that was a difficult thing to grasp the timing of when that conversation needed to happen. And a lot of it was mostly because, there's assholes at school that are going to talk about shit.
Did you let your kids have sleepovers?
No. Okay. At our house, yes. Rarely do I let them go anywhere.
I'm having a hard time grappling with that, especially with my daughter.
No reason for it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. Now as a high schooler, trusted houses, yes. But randos, no way.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. And only because I know my experience of being at houses with people who had not even older brothers, but older sisters.
Absolutely.
Who had access to things that we didn't need to have access to.
Correct.
At that point in time. And people's parents are just, not everybody parents the same way.
Correct.
That you do.
Yep.
And I don't know if I want you in that house for an extended period of time. And I also want to end these episodes with a question so we can get some conversation going and some interaction. So if you find yourself in the comments, I'd like to know, what is your favorite thing about parenting, or what is your least favorite thing about parenting? And also, Jen, this was fun.
It was fun.
This was fun. I had a really good time. I'm really glad that you came. Any parting words to our friends?
No. Just be kind. Be good humans.
Be kind to yourself.
Don't be dicks. Just about it.
Say something nice about yourself. I think that's the thing that we take away from this.
Hard.
Every episode, just like say something nice about yourself. I am smart. I am handsome.
You are a handsome specimen.
And gosh darn it, people like me. With that being said, goodbye, Jen.
Goodbye, Bacon.
Thank you guys for joining this episode with my friend Jen. I appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget that you can watch this on YouTube, or you can hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everything. I'll be linking it down in the description box down below. Other than that, I will see you next time. I'm BaconBearzz, and that's my opinion. And I just hit my hand on the table. Ew. Ew.